Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in our City Heat Detox webinar series, Decarbonizing District Heating, hosted in partnership with the Covenant of Mayors and the CEE Bankwatch Network. My name is Sara Comparetto. I'm the Engagement Officer for Youth and Cities at Euroheat Power, and I'm happy to guide you through today's session where we'll explore an inspiring example of heat decarbonization from the city of Salaspils in Latvia. So, why are we here today? Heating infrastructure plays a crucial role in our cities, but for too long, it has depended on fossil fuels. That is why the Covenant of Mayors launched the Cities Heat Detox campaign, supporting cities in their transition to clean, renewable heating solutions. If you're interested to learn more about the campaign and the city heat decarbonization journey, you can watch the recording of our first webinar about the city of Prague on Euroheat Power YouTube channel. But today we'll focus on Salaspils, Latvia, a city that has reduced its its heat-related CO2 emissions by 88% since 2017. And with the solar power district heating system already in place and plans to recover waste heat from data centers, Salaspils stands as a powerful example of how cities can decarbonize their heating systems. This webinar is also a great opportunity to introduce the crash course for cities, which will take place in Prague on the 3rd of June in conjunction with the Euroheat Power Congress. This training program on district heating and cooling is tailored for local authorities, city representatives, government officials, and 100% municipally owned companies that are looking to accelerate their heating transition. Also, we are thankful to CEE Bankwatch Network for supporting this initiative, and this is why we also want to focus on their contribution to the energy transition in Central and Eastern Europe. Today, we are lucky to have two amazing experts with us. Morgan Henley, who is a renewable district heating campaigner at CEE Bankwatch Network. She focuses on how public funds can support cities in Central and Eastern Europe in decarbonizing district heating. And Ina Berzina-Veita, who is member of the board of Salaspils Siltums, president of the Latvian Association of Heating Companies, and an advisor to the Minister of Climate and Energy of Latvia. Under her leadership, Salaspils implemented the first district heating solar energy project in Eastern Europe, proving that large-scale thermal solutions can work even in northern climates. I would also like to mention that this webinar will be recorded and the slides will be sent out the day after the webinar. You will also be able to ask your questions during the presentations, so feel free to type them in the Q&A section and we will address them after the presentations. So that being said, let's get started, and Morgan, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, and yeah, thanks Euroheat Power for inviting me here. I'm happy to speak on such a topic, and I'm very happy to be also with the story of Salaspils, which is one of my favorites. So I'm glad that I get to, be the opener for what will be a nice main act, I would say. I don't know if I've met any of you, but as mentioned before, my name is Morgan Henley. I work at an NGO called CEE Bankwatch, And I specifically focus on how to decarbonize district heating in Central and Eastern Europe using public finance, so mostly EU funds, but also a little bit from the European Investment Bank. And I have a colleague who focuses on the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, mostly in the Western Balkans. So if you ever have any questions on that, we're happy to discuss anything with you. One thing that we've been working on the past year is a methodology on how a town or municipality or district heating company can change their heating source to be from renewables. Because I think, as you know, the region has many old systems that are reliant on fossil fuels. So we prepared this methodology with some experts based in Prague, Exergy, and you can, I'm happy to share it afterwards if Euroheat Power will allow. It's ready for download, and also happy to discuss it further if anyone is interested. But it was specifically imagined for just transition regions, so the regions based on coal, but it's really applicable for anyone that's using fossil fuels. So it doesn't have to be one of the EU specific just transition regions. And the reason why we did it, as I think probably most of you know, is that now there's going to be the requirement that municipalities over 45,000 inhabitants will have to do heating and cooling planning. So the need for heating and cooling planning will be bigger than ever before. So yeah, just, I think most of you probably know, but just to remind you, this is sort of the makeup of district heating on the continent. So, I'm based in Prague, so Czech Republic. So characteristic of the whole region, there's a lot of aging systems. Here it's still a lot of coal use, but some going to gas. Here are some numbers. And yeah. Whereas in the Nordics, there's more quicker transition to renewables. And then, the Baltics are something in between. And I think we'll see the innovation that's happening there. So when you have these, existing systems that were built, maybe 60 years ago or more, how do you change them if they're based on really, high temperatures, needing combustion to produce the heat? So, there's a few different suggestions that we would always ask to consider. So, big renewable integration, so large heat pumps, and that can come from seas, rivers, air, geothermal, waste energy from cooling or from industry. So the waste heat integration, so it can also be from, whatever kind of industry you have. It might be applicable, it might not. It would really depend on your circumstance. Deep geothermal, that's of course going to be if you have the capability to do it. Not every geography will be able to support it. And it's, I know it can be a complicated and expensive process, but once you have it, it's quite reliable. And then also, one thing that we are always trying to advocate is just to diversify, that instead of having one big plant burning coal or gas, that you have different sources. So also they can be, used in different times when there might be a better opportunity for one versus the other. And also sector coupling, so really being able to pair different things together, which will also help with flexibility, which is also really important for, as we move towards electrifying many other things, whether that's transport, and also need to do storage, which also heating can help with. And I think we'll hear an example later. And the goal to make it, more sustainable, cost effective, clean and low carbon heat, and it helps the local society. When you can get more synergies together, it's also helpful not just for the heating sector, but and the consumers, but also for the industry who can maybe sell that heat. And the way to do that, well, there's many ways. So yeah, I think we have a mix of participants here. So a bit of from the district heating company side, but also maybe municipalities. And so here we have kind of the laundry list of different ways that, the EU and different countries and municipalities are trying to push that in the right direction. So different markets, we see here in the East that the EU ETS is having a really giant impact on the heating sector and moving away from coal because it's just getting financially really difficult. I mean, also the electricity prices and how it's used for heating can vary. Legislation, so there's, I will get into it a bit more, but here's a list of acronyms from the latest EU package. So the Energy Efficiency Directive, Renewable Energy Directive, European Buildings Directive, Best Available Technology, etc. These are probably familiar to you if you follow EU legislation. Then, yeah, other pieces of regulation on the national level, tariffs, prices, subsidies, that'll probably also come on the national level. Client expectations and also the understanding of what services are provided by a district heating company. It's also something, which can change over time. And, looking at heat as a selling comfort, not necessarily selling amount of heat. Because if we improve the efficiency, it's also about, just making sure people feel comfortable at home and not necessarily how much heat we can actually sell them. And then competition, there is also, the reality that in some places, disconnecting from district heating is happening and people are moving to their own individual boilers. So how to do that in a way that doesn't, really jeopardize the future of entire heat networks, which we have seen before happening where entire heat networks just go into disuse because there were too many disconnections. So yeah, I mentioned it a bit before, EU legislation. I mean, I think many of us understand the need and how important heating is in the entire energy mix of the EU. And it is a bit unfortunate, but the heating sector is kind of hidden in multiple pieces of legislation. So yeah, the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Renewable Energy Directive, and the Directive on Energy Performance of Buildings, which also before that was the EU heating and cooling strategy, but it is quite outdated by now. Maybe we will get a new one in the coming years. But I think the one that's the most important for us is the Energy Efficiency Directive, the EED. And it's quite long. There's many different provisions in it, but the one that's the most, I think, useful for us to look at here is the heating and cooling assessment and planning. So there's a lot of text and requirements in here. But I think I just highlighted it sort of the general main points. So you can, I mean, this is the actual language of the legislation, but so you need to do the assessment. You need to make sure the stakeholders can participate. You need to do a benefit analysis for the different policies and and also identify what the potential is. And then you have, yeah, this planning requirement for 45,000 inhabitant municipalities or more. So yeah, this is also a lot of different things to consider when doing these plans. And what we provided in this methodology is kind of a checklist of all of these things to look at. So yeah, discussing with different stakeholders, consider their existing energy infrastructure, putting energy efficiency first. This is the whole kind of guiding principle of the EED. Mapping the potential of how to improve the energy efficiency in homes or buildings. Also making sure vulnerable households are considered specifically. Creating an overall strategy for these potential that's identified, and then looking at the finance that's available and what would be necessary, and then making a trajectory of what are the goals and in 5-year increments. It's not just the 2050 goal, but really like what do we expect in piece by piece. And then also, yeah, really looking at the regional and local authorities. And then they also should be aligned with other local climate, energy, and environmental planning on the national or regional level. So this is in the EED. And the requirements. And so, yeah, here is a bit about our methodology. I think it's just reiterating what's already sort of there. So the energy first principle, energy efficiency first, the national climate laws, looking at energy communities if they exist, or any other kind of consumer-led initiatives, looking at the finance options, what's out there, what needs to happen. State aid, also don't forget that that's can be an issue or an advantage, depending on your circumstance. And then, yeah, looking at potential synergies. Like, I don't know if they building a new train line or metro tram line in your municipality, can you also put a district heating pipe underneath, something like that? Or if they are doing reconstruction, does that mean also no way will you be able to dig up later to put district heating pipes? And then also, yeah, cooling, it's depending on your situation, but cooling is also relevant for the commercial sector almost anywhere, no matter where in the world you are. So I added a theme to the images for the rest of the presentation. I don't know if you know this series of children's books. It's called Busy Town. It's American. I'm from the US. And it's basically about a happy town where, you know, you have different animals living together. And I thought it was kind of a nice idea of thinking about, you know, this is actually how we need to plan our district heating is, you know, everyone needs to be in touch with everyone and talking about, you know, how can we help each other and how can we find the, you know, the best ways to cooperate. So yeah, here is again a list, and just to reiterate, like the municipality when doing these plannings really should look at the different stakeholders. So all the affected different public authorities, businesses, public interest groups. So large scale consumers of heat or gas, so the big companies, if you know if they're using a lot of gas, how would they be able to transition out of that for their heating needs? I don't know, or yeah, small businesses that also need to be considered as well, but you know, might be using quite a lot, whether it's grocery stores or malls or I don't know, schools, if you're getting to the public sectors. Um, then yeah, the bordering municipalities, I mean, one thing that's also the 45,000 that it shouldn't like this is the requirement, but also if there are smaller municipalities around, it's also, I think, important to go hand in hand because there can also be synergies. Associations of municipalities, depending on where you are, state authorities, real estate companies, they know what's there, what the building stock is like. So also can be important to speak with, and also can help, you know, plan future district heating connections, chambers of commerce as well. And then, yeah, any other operators of energy infrastructure, heating. So, and that's present or future. So it doesn't have to just be, you know, the existing big utility, but maybe smaller startups that are happening as well. And then, yeah, any renewable or waste heat producers. And then this is really getting into sort of the things to look at. So inventory analysis, look at, yeah, the consumption, the temperatures, the emissions, the generators, the heat source, the networks, what's decentralized, the building stock. So all of that is really data heavy stuff, but it's the way to really look and see what you have at your disposal to as an asset, and also as the things to work and improve on for energy efficiency. Um, and then, yeah, potential analysis in a quantitative and spatially differentiated manner. So the energy savings potential in the different residential or commercial processes, the potential for generating heat from renewables, waste heat, or central heat storage. And then, yeah, known restrictions, if you know, if there's some things that are already already known that can be done. For instance, if you know there's no geothermal down underneath your ground, then yeah, or it was looked at and yeah, can be done, things like that. And then yeah, again, the target scenarios looking at the final year, but then also progressively the intermediate goals. So yeah, different heat area supplies for the construction or expansion of district heating and cooling, for decentralized heat supplies in areas with increased potential. Then yeah, description of types of heat supply. So yeah, very probable, very suitable or not suitable. So just really mapping out and saying this is, very likely to be, if you have a river, very likely you could put a heat pump on it. If you have, I don't know, but it's really cold or something, then maybe not. So it will all really depend on your geographical reality. And then, yeah, the most important thing is the implementation. A plan is only as good as it is used. So really also making sure that it can be put into use. So yeah, what are the dates? What are the costs? Who's going to pay the cost? What are the positive impacts the measures will have? And like, what are the objectives of it? Yeah, also really measures on how to target the consumers to make sure that, they're brought along in the process as well. Risk and sensitivity analysis needs to be done also when implementing. And yeah, it also can, there might be specific scenarios that come up with district heating consumers or producers that may also have to be case by case. Yeah, so then also the requirement on the operators of the heating networks, because this was before was really from the municipality point of view. But this is, yeah, also it can really only be done if they're working together. And so drawing up the heat expansion plan needs to have from the heating networks, description of the state of the network itself. How are the pipes? How are the heating, the fuel sources? What is the potential that they know of? What is the future development plans? If they have any decarbonization targets? Are they planning to expand? And what do they really need in terms of investments? And yeah, every district heating company and municipality is going to be different. There's no one size fits all. I say that, there's a saying that you can't understand another person's marriage, and I think you can't understand another district heating company because there's so many different specificities to it that you really need to, know it inside and out yourself from your own personal experience. So, but all of that to say is I think that all of these different talking to, the businesses, talking to the municipality, seeing what you have available. These are things that I think that were done really well in Salaspils and really looking around and kind of figuring out the puzzle of what's there. So I'm really happy that you can see that in action with the next presentation from Ina. And again, yeah, happy to send out the methodology and discuss it with anyone if interested.
Thank you so much, Morgan. It was great, and thank you for sharing all of this useful information with us. And I would also like to mention that the Repower the Regions report is available on Euroheat Power Knowledge Hub already, so you can find it on our website. And now let's hear more about Salaspils from Ina.
So, hello everybody here, there. The topic of my presentation is actually Salaspils speedy heat detox, but I'm going to talk about a little bit more than 10 years. So, and then we can decide, is it speedy or about myself. My name is Berzina-Veita, and I'm a managing director of Salaspils Siltums district heating company, and I'm also the president of District Heating Association in Latvia, and my aim is sustainable energy, and I'm focused on emission-free technologies. That's what I'm looking for about more than 10 years already. So a little bit about Latvia. More than 65% in Latvia are using district heating energy, and there is 2,000 kilometers and quite low heat losses in the pipe. This is the job of the last years. And as you know, Latvia is a small country with only 1.9 million inhabitants, and the big part of, let's say, nearly half is living in Riga, and Riga is also the biggest district heating system in Latvia. So, Salaspils community is placed just behind Riga, and it's only 24,000 inhabitants in municipality, and we are serving for about 20,000 inhabitants in municipality with district heating. And there is 3 areas like Salaspils, it's the major city there, and then we have Salcone and Atsone, where we have in Atsone, we are only operator and taking the heat from the same plant, which is supplying CHP plant, which is supplying to Riga. We are an operator who is trying to do it as efficient as it possible in this small village. In general, our clients are in Salaspils. We are producer and also transporting and distributing. Our clients are the houses. We are supplying up to the wall of the dwelling multi-residential house, and we are focused from the first day to the sustainable development, and I will talk a little bit about what we are doing now, because we are trying to develop and change all the time. Little bit of history. I came to Salaspils Siltums in 2011, and it was like a horror movie at that time here. Everything looks just horrible. The production was horrible. It was 100% fossil fuels. There is one company who is renting the premises and producing with cogeneration on gas. They produce heat. It was the city with one of the highest tariffs and big debtors, no money. So, and then what we did, first of all, we did the inspection of all things, and we replaced the old gas boilers inefficient with the new one, with automated. That was the first step what we did. Then the next and most important in the meantime was the remote data control system. So where we can see online what we are doing, how is the consumption, temperatures, and all those things. And also we did the project and plans and changed the pipelines. You can see the old ones, and now we are 100% insulated and finished those things. Actually, with the changing the control system, I mean this and changing the pipelines. First, at that year there were 25% savings of heat, which means it not just the losses in the pipes, but it was also the incorrect readings of the heating consumption, you can say. So in the meantime, we got the European, we got into the European project and built the first wood chip boiler. And after a while, we also added the flue gas condenser to this boiler to increase in efficiency and to produce more from the same fuel. And then I come to this 2019, where we finished our big project, including the solar field, because in that time the cogeneration plant didn't have the tariff supports anymore, and they jumped out from our production structure, which means the best thing in the summer load was to put the solar. Together with solar, also always comes the accumulation tank. It's 8,000 cubic meters of accumulation tank, and I can say that this is also one of our best investments, because the accumulation is like one more producer. After 3 years of running our production and using efficiently our accumulation tank, I can say we increase our efficiency about 7 to 8%, excluding solar. I mean, we are using it also on the temperature fluctuations, and when we see that soon it will be colder, now it's warm, we collect the heat from renewable and decrease the gas during the peaks. So then we now on today our structure looks like this. Production structure, where is the priorities? First priority is the solar. The next priority is the wood chips, and the third is like a peak, and this is the natural gas. We still have old previous installment of gas, but you are using them not so much. So that's how our diversification looks today. 94% renewables, including solar, and 6% of natural gas. So what we gained, I can say on today we decreased the CO2 emissions on 93%, and this is last year data together, and also, we reduced the annual heat losses from 22 than less than 10% per annum. That is the size of our solar field. That's how it looks about 3 days ago, when we had at last had the winter time. And I can say yesterday, although it's a snow, it's melted, and we produced 22 megawatts of heat from solar. So, and I know that how it looks, that during those years, it's 5 already, we have with solar energy we saved 2.8 million euros. And as you see on the graph, it's the approximate production from solar, and it's more or less the same. And as I said, we mostly fill in the summer load. The blue color is actually the natural gas boilers. As you see, we cover the peaks, and in the summertime, we are using gas when it's not enough sun, and the accumulation tanks, which accumulates up to 5 days, it's already empty. And that is now we have already ready the project that we want to replace and to take away as much as possible gas, and especially during the summertime, it's a good place for the heat pump here. Always, it's a big interest of the cost of the project. As you know, it's three main parts there. It's a solar collector field, storage tank, and wood chip boiler house, with modern with the condenser and all filters, as you know. So you can see the price of those parts, each of them, and then also how we finance it. We got the EU funding, we got the loan, and banks are always happy to finance on good conditions such projects which are green. And we also had our own investment, including emission trading quotas, which we saved because of renewable and reducing of CO2. So I want to say that's very important that when we put that remote control system, we have a bigger connection with inhabitants. We are talking with them, we're helping to put the right temperatures for the houses. With this controlling and communicating with every house, we reduce the consumption of the house because it's optimum, not too hot, we regulate the automatic system so they are using as optimum as possible. They have savings about 10%. 10% in each house. In the meantime, actually, we have a very good connection with our municipality, and that's why we got also the idea that each house in the municipality then which is going to renovate to fulfill all these papers or make the projects for renovation and all and financing and all those things. It's a huge job to renovate. It's only a small part, or to do the construction bit, but to make the right decisions of the house, to make the right papers, to apply for them, to control them. And we decided that we will do it for our municipality because we're municipality-owned enterprise. And we started to help inhabitants to renovate their houses. I mean, with the paperwork. And at the beginning, it was they just came those houses which are like have their own house maintenance, but then also those who are the maintenance, the companies came to get help for us because we know how to attract money, how to put correctly all papers. And on today in Salaspils, there is 1/3 of houses are renovated and approximately, and it's about 10 houses from we help them to do it, and there are several also in line. So we also communicate with schools. We invite schools and kindergartens to visit us, and once a year in August we have the open days. Open days means when the families can come to us, and we are showing what we are doing. We are making different attractions or games for kids, as you can see on the pictures. And at the end, we got like people are proud that they are living in Salaspils, and there are more and more new clients are looking for possibilities how to connect to us. So, and it was a little bit more than a year ago. There is one area which you see on the picture connected to the district heating. It's 11 multi-dwelling houses, and it's very interesting how they now look on that, because when they are used the local heating as gas boilers, which actually was quite, as it written on the papers, that it's more than 90% efficiency. when we checked their bills and looked on we see that the efficiency of such boiler, which are using individually or in the house, can't exceed 60% because you switch on, you switch off. You're not professionals, and as I said, everybody has to do what they know professionally how to do it, and we know better how to do the heating and how to do it more efficiently, and I can say they are very happy. So, and as I mentioned, it's very important also to have the good cooperation with the municipality, and we really do. And we settled in Salaspils the district heating area, as you see on the map. And in Salaspils municipality, first priority is district heating, and then it's a zero emission technology in the area of district heating, where if we can supply technically or economically reasonable, because we have such requests where we can't supply, it's too expensive or impossible to supply. But anyhow, district heating is the first, and the next is zero emission technology. You can't put anything which is burning in this area. I mean, you can put heat pump or electrical. So the next steps, or the steps which we are working on already several years, it's electrification, it says, and digitalization. And if we're talking about the digitalization, we are talking about the twin system to our production and supply system, because we are becoming more and more complicated. With electrification, we have been working for several years, and we got one project across the road here. They are putting on the data center, and electrification for us means several things. Maybe you know that the Baltic region just switched off from the Russia and Belarus electricity grid, and we are very good of taking off the electricity peak and balance the electricity networks. So we are putting on the electrical boiler. We are planning and also the electrical batteries. Now we have with the heat accumulation, we will have also the electrical batteries in order to even out the price of heat production for us. And as I said, it's also we are looking on possibility to burn as less as possible, not only gas, which is already very low, but also the wood chips. And as I said, this is a data center which we managed to get here across the street, and they're now building their one of the biggest data centers in Latvia. So we will use their heat, also with the heat pump, which again decrease our annual burning up to 15%. So that's how we look. So we can decide, is it speedy or not speedy? But I can say that we are very keen to do something every day and to improve our how to say, the production and our service every day. Okay, thank you. That's how we are.
Thank you, Ina. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I also actually saw that you won the Global District Energy Climate Awards. And yeah, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It was actually before the solar field. It was when we moved from horror movie to the first renewable boiler. And actually, it's very important, as Morgan said, the efficiency. We really improved the efficiency of every point of our enterprise. Thank you very much.
Indeed. And maybe I take this opportunity also to tell you that the Global District Energy Climate Awards are also open now. So as Ina did, maybe we can encourage you to also take part to this initiative and try to gain visibility for your project. So we actually have a few questions for our speakers, and maybe we can start with you, Ina. So we have one question, which is how do you convince customers to switch towards district heating? Is the cost of the heat cheaper than their existing system?
Actually, it is. I didn't mention that since we are very transparent, from the first day we are publishing our tariff, we are showing the consumption of each house. We are showing the difference. Actually, our tariffs are very, very stable. And also, since we are diversified, and also during the crisis, we showed that in other district systems, district heating system, or especially for those who have been using electricity or gas or any other, we have been stable, and our price, for example, with the gas users was 4 times cheaper. So there are several things. First of all, as I said, everybody knows not only in Salaspils, but also in all Latvia that the Salaspils we are very open, that the Salaspils has solar, that they are stable, that they are reliable, and so on. Actually, for us, it's much more difficult to say no for district heating where we can't put piping. It's opposite. It's time. It's time when you're working day to day to them, to telling, and yeah.
All right, thank you. And another question is how many units are connected to your district heating system?
In Salaspils, there are 220 houses and commercial buildings.
All right. And another question we have. So first, congratulations. They say it's an extremely well thought heat transition. And who is supporting you in developing and adapting the decarbonization strategy? Your own utility experts or consultants?
It's our own, and the next our how to say the vision. We are learning all the time. We are participating in different conferences all over the world. We are looking for new solutions. We are yes, it's our own, and then we look the best examples all over the world and see how we can adapt in our system. So but mainly we are ourselves plus those who know the technology better.
All right, thank you. And I also had a question for you because you mentioned that the next steps for Salaspils include electrification and waste heat recovery. And what do you think are the main technical and financial barriers to implementing these changes?
The main barriers, as Morgan mentioned, is electricity price probably when you are and to find the best size of the heat pump. If we're using waste heat, it's one thing. Yeah, we are adapting to the waste heat which is coming out, but we want to put bigger also an air to water, and here is the not to put it too big and not to put it too small, which means also a connection to the electricity price. And especially now it's very fluctuating, as you know. And I also forget to mention that together with the solar collectors, after 1 year, we put also the solar PV, which means our solar field is 100% running on sun. When you need electricity for pumps, it's also electricity, it's produced by sun. So if we come back, that is about as a district heating association, we made last year an agreement with regulatory board, with Ministry of Energy and Climate, and with the transmission grids of electricity. We made a memorandum of understanding that in order to decrease the fixed price of electricity, which is quite high because of the low consumption of electricity in the country. So we are making the memorandum that we can try to find how to lower at the beginning the price of this fixed price of electricity in order to increase the consumption and lower the price for everybody afterwards, which means electricity price is one of the crucial questions. And then I see it's also the question about the heat price, as I said, how big it's about 60 to 70 euros per megawatt hour, and it stands all the time in these lines.
Thank you. And
here is the price about the winter and summer. We have the regulatory boards, and we are settling the price for all over the year, which means it's not that during the summer it's 5 euros and during winter it's 80. No, it's we are taking all year and consumption, and then we got the average price for all year round, and it's changing for just for few euros when if it's let's say the cheap boards jumping out or something, but actually it stands there for many years already.
I see, thank you. And one last question for you. Have Salaspils considered tapping its sewer network to recycle the waste heat within wastewater via heat pumps for use in the district heating system?
Yes, we have been looking on this possibility. We are on the way. Maybe it will be the next step.
Okay, thank you. And Morgan, I also have a question for you. Do you have any recommendations on how to fight disconnections in CEE district heating networks? Any success stories to share?
Well, I mean, it will depend on your circumstance if you're allowed to disconnect. Some places they have legislation that forbids it, or you can make it very expensive. I think that's the case in most of the Czech Republic, which, yeah, is not exactly the most consumer friendly. So ideally, you wouldn't have to go to those kinds of measures. I think Salaspils is actually a nice story of consumers wanting to connect. And instead of this in mass, but I think it also it means being consumer minded as well, and having these things like open days where people can come by and being forward and having a help desk if someone comes in and needs help. And I mean, it also depends on who are your customers. Maybe you have really low income people, or you have really elderly people who don't have so much time to, I don't know, send emails or call or something, or foreigners, I don't know, who feel intimidated to do it. So I think it's also about making it really user friendly. But I think Ina has really good work examples.
Great. Ina,
Yeah, I
would you
can
like to?
add. Maybe I
Yes.
can add about this that in Latvia, one person in the house couldn't. It's already around 10 years, a little bit less, or 8. That one person in the house, if house has district heating, connected to the district heating, can't say no to district heating, because first of all, it changed whole system. So all house should decide. If all house decide that they will switch off, they can switch off, but not one person in the house, because it destroys all inside system. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Then we are closing this webinar. Thank you, Morgan and Ina, and thank you all for joining today's discussion on Salaspils' impressive district heating transformation. I hope you all found this session insightful and that it gave you new ideas on how cities can accelerate their heat decarbonization journey. And before we wrap up, I'd also like to remind you about our upcoming crash course for cities. As I mentioned, it will take place in Prague on the 3rd of June at the same venue as the Euroheat Power Congress O2 Universum. And this training program, once again, is open to local authorities, city representatives, government officials, and municipally owned companies. And for that, you need to register, and I'll get to the steps in a second. The main news is that we are excited also to share the outline of the program. The day will start with a welcome session and introductions, creating a space for city representatives to meet and exchange experiences. Then we'll have 3 sessions throughout the day. The first one, Heat Without Burning, will focus on renewable heat sources such as geothermal energy, large-scale heat pumps, waste heat recovery, and alternative heat sources. The second session, Renew Your District Heating and Cooling, will explore building renovation, refurbishing existing networks, and innovative ways to upgrade district heating infrastructure. And the last session, Get Everyone on Board, will look at stakeholder engagement, marketing, financing, and business models to support the transition. Regarding the technical site visit, we are still waiting for confirmation and more information will follow. But what is sure is the amazing networking dinner on the 3rd of June in the evening, which will give you the chance to connect with the broader district heating and cooling community. So if you'd like to attend the Euroheat Power Congress and the crash course for cities, you need to follow these steps to register. First, you need to go on Euroheat Power website and access the Congress website to register. You need to click on register, and then you need to select the EU National Local Representatives NGO ticket and express your interest in attending the crash course for cities in the relevant custom question. Once you've done this, you complete your registration process and you can attend the crash course. Just note that each crash course registration will be manually verified. So register using your work email address or contact the organizer in case you work for a municipally owned utility. And once again, thank you for being part of today's webinar, and special thanks also to Ina and Morgan for sharing their expertise with us. If you have any follow-up question, feel free to reach out, and we hope to see you in Prague in June. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you in Prague.
Yes,
Thank
bye.
you.